Sarah, a pregnant woman, is home alone one night when suddenly she hears her doorbell ring, followed by a knock. She looks through the peephole and sees a dark figure. The stranger asks to come in and make a phone call because their car broke down and their phone is dead. Not wanting to let them in, Sarah says that her husband is sleeping and can't be disturbed, which is a lie. Her husband is shown being killed in a car accident at the beginning of the movie, but the stranger already knows this.
Je l'ai déjà dit, mon mari dort.
Ton mari dort pas, Sarah. Il est mort.
Sarah threatens to call the police, but the woman is unfazed and shows signs of violent intentions. And while developing photos she took of her and looking at older ones, she realizes that this woman has actually been stalking her for some time. The police arrive, but the woman is now gone. They of course tell Sarah that she'll be fine and arrange for a patrol car to come throughout the night and check on her. The cops leave and Sarah falls asleep on her couch. Anytime I'm watching a horror movie and there's an area of darkness in the frame, I always take that as a sign to look for a potential scare. Here, as the camera pushes in closer to Sarah, we see a dark figure behind her. It took me a second to realize this on first watch, but regardless, the tension immediately rises when you realize that the main threat of this movie is in position to do whatever she wants to Sarah. She wakes up and the camera pulls out as the intruder backs into the darkness. When I first saw this scene in the middle of the night with all the lights off while in my bed naked, I was pretty spooked. You never clearly see the stalker's face here. It's always kinda grainy. And the way she backs up and becomes engulfed in darkness to the point where you can barely see her, I think makes for a pretty creepy sight. You know she has evil intentions and is in the perfect position to act on them, but chooses to wait. And that restraint adds to the tension. Sarah is in a pretty vulnerable spot here, but she would be at her most vulnerable while she's deep asleep, so the stalker waits. I also like how the score, which is pretty creepy in its own right, only comes in for a moment as Sarah's surroundings are revealed before fading out, making you feel more uncomfortable with the silence. I think what also makes this scene so effective is that it captures the fear of being the victim of a home invasion, or being watched when you don't know you're being watched. Those are very rational fears that I imagine most people have, and it helps that there's not really anything unrealistic about this. It's very easy to imagine yourself in Sarah's place. I've been in this exact position, where I was watching a scary movie and looked behind me just to make sure there wasn't a person looking to do naughty things. I think this is a great scare that affected how I looked at darkness for the rest of the film, always wondering if she would be lurking. And it's the most effective scare in the film for me personally. But this film's defining scene is one of the more disgusting things you'll see in a movie. Inside is a 2007 horror film, and specifically one of the more notable films of the new French Extremity. 21st century horror movies that feature extreme violence and explore controversial and taboo themes. And yeah, this is definitely one of the most disturbing movies I've ever seen. Similar to films like Martyrs or Irreversible, it's the kind of movie where after watching it, I questioned if it was even worth it. On the night before she's due to give birth, Sarah has her house broken into by a woman who wants to steal her unborn baby by literally cutting it out with a pair of scissors. What follows is an insane amount of gore, preposterous amounts of blood, and a climax that's honestly hard to watch. At this point, every person who has come to check on Sarah, whether it be a police officer or her mom, is now presumably dead, and Sarah is in a fight to the death with her stalker. After getting half of her face burned off with a cigarette in an aerosol can, the stalker reveals that she was the other driver in the car accident that killed Sarah's husband. In that accident, she lost her unborn baby and now wants Sarah's baby as a replacement. The two get interrupted by a police officer who earlier was shot in the head by the stalker and is now extremely disoriented. He confuses the two with one another and mistakenly beats Sarah in the stomach with a club, causing her water to break. The stalker kills the officer, and Sarah is now on the stairs starting to give birth, but the baby gets stuck. Allison Paradis, the actor who plays Sarah, is doing an insane job here of conveying pain and agony. Just the idea of her baby being stuck makes me wince. She spent this whole movie trying to protect her unborn baby from being cut out of her, and now that's exactly what she needs to happen. The woman takes her scissors and, in an act of twisted kindness, cuts Sarah's stomach open and digs her baby out of her. And nothing is left to our imagination. The cutting of Sarah's stomach, the woman's literal hands inside of her, all of it. This shit is sick. If you've seen other videos in this series, then you've maybe heard me refer to something as disturbing imagery. Well, this makes all that shit look like a fucking Disney movie. It's shocking and will leave you truly disturbed. Sarah is now dead, and the movie's final shot is of the woman rocking her baby, at peace now that she finally got what she came for. Her burned face, the red lighting, and the camera's slow pullout make this shot very well done, but also very unsettling. It's the worst and most depressing ending, and the thought of what Sarah went through in this film, and the fact that this could actually happen to someone, I think makes this pretty terrifying.